The focus of this video is on finding the x and y intercepts of rational functions. And the way we go about finding the x and y intercepts is the same as what we've learned in the past, but sometimes it can feel a little more complicated with rational functions. So I'm going to kind of summarize in a way that allows you to hopefully keep them straight in the procedure for solving for such. So we're going to go ahead and start off with f of x equals x squared minus 4 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, in order to find an x-intercept, just like we learned in the past, you have to let your y value be 0. So, when we say y value, that's in function notation, that's your f of x. So let f of x equal 0. So if we do that and we look at our function that we have, wherever there's an f of x, replace it with 0. So in other words, our function is set equal to 0. Now, a fraction is equal to 0 when the numerator is set equal to 0. So you want to remember that. So in this case, if we're trying to find the x-intercept, we're going to set our numerator equal to 0 and solve for x. So x squared minus 4 equals 0. And so in order to solve for x, we have the first factor. And so we already know that x squared minus 4 factors as x plus 2 and x minus 2. And so for that product to equal to 0, that means either the x plus 2 equals 0 or the x minus 2 equals 0. And so if we solve both of those, we come up with, by subtracting 2 from both sides, we get x equals negative 2 for this first factor, and for the second factor we add 2 to both sides and we get x equals a positive 2. And so at the end of the day, that means that the x-intercepts are the points negative 2 comma 0 and 2 comma 0. Now in order to find the y-intercept, if you recall, we have to let the x value be 0. In other words, just let the opposite letter be 0. So we'll go ahead and start with our original function that we have here, and instead of writing the x's, wherever there's an x, I'm going to put parentheses instead. So x squared minus 4 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. And then again, wherever there was an x, I'm going to replace it with 0 because that's the rule for a y-intercept. And then we know 0 squared or 0 times anything is just going to come out to 0. So it's as if we can kind of disregard those pieces and we're left with negative 4 on the top in the numerator, and we're left with positive 6 in the denominator. And if we reduce that fraction down to lowest terms, we come up with negative 2/3. So we get the point 0 comma negative 2/3 for the y-intercept. And so again, just remember, at the end of the day, if you want an x-intercept, you need to set your function equal to 0, which is the same as setting the numerator equal to 0 and solving for x. And then for a y-intercept, wherever there's an x, replace it with 0 and solve for your point.